Hey guys, Zach here with the Leatherman OHT. If you've been following my channel, you know I did a video review of this guy back in November, and I was a little bit critical of the fit and finish of it out of the package. So I figured I would go ahead and do an update vid for you on how this thing's been holding up. Now, I personally only use my multi-tools a few times a week, if that, based on the type of work I do. So I gave this one, the same one from the video, to a friend of mine who works in commercial property maintenance, who uses a multi-tool several times a day, 5 to 6 days a week. I told him, go ahead, this is yours now, put it through its paces. The only thing I ask is you give it back to me in 6 or 7 months, and we'll do kind of a how it's holding up update video on it. That being said, jump right in. Of course, the one-handed opening is a little bit tough to do with the camera here without knocking the camera over. Of course, the finish on it is about the same as it was out of the package, which wasn't awesome, so let's get past that. Don't want to start another flame war on this video. Let's just start at the pliers and work our way down, talk through the different tools and what my buddy liked about it, what he didn't maybe like about it so much, and so on. The thing he liked the most, of course, is the spring-loaded pliers. He's coming from a Gerber multi-tool that he had before, and once you have the spring-loaded multi-tool pliers, you never want to not have that. It's a feature that I'll agree with them that is a must-have. You know, if you can figure out a way, multi-tool designers, to have spring-loaded pliers in every model, I'd say go ahead and do it. You can see that the precision on the pliers is still there. They haven't gotten sloppy with use. They're still very tight. They still fit great. The tread on them is still really good, despite you can see this thing has been used, like I said. My buddy loved the removable jaws and the cutter jaws on this particular model. Now, of course, they are removable, which we both agree is a great feature, but he went ahead and cut a key, cut some nails, he's cut all kinds of stuff, wire, and works on commercial AC units and so on, so you know he's always cutting things with these, and they're actually holding up quite well, which is great. No issue there at all, and again, they are removable, so if they do get worn out, you can replace them, no problem. The Gerber multi-tool he was coming from, the jaws were just completely mush. I mean, they were completely trash, so I mean, he was excited to have this tool just for that reason alone. We slide the pliers in and start talking about the tools. He loved the long shank Phillips. It allowed him to get deep in different electrical panels and so on and get in there no problem. He loved the fact that all these tools are locking, something he didn't have with his Gerber tool. The seatbelt cutter / gas bottle opener, of course, he had no use for his day-to-day use. On my personal model that I kept for myself, I did go ahead and test this cutter. Just like any cutter that Gerber or Leatherman or anybody puts out, it zips right through nylon, it zips right through cordage, no problem at all. So no complaints there, not really much to report. Let's flip her over. The saw, actually surprisingly, he really dug the saw. The particular Gerber model, and I'm not sure which one it was that he has, doesn't have a saw. He said that he used the saw to go cut down a bunch of saplings around a bunch of different commercial properties to kind of clean up, do a little cleanup there. And I asked him, well, wasn't the saw a little bit too short? And he said it is short, but you get a nice purchase on the handle with this tool, which allows you to really get that saw moving back and forth. You know, it fills the hand nicely, it fills the whole hand, and it makes the saw actually pretty functional, which was a surprise to me. The can opener, of course, he had no use for, so I have nothing really much to report there. I'm sure it works just fine. Let's move over and talk about the blade. Now, the blade, he went ahead and broke the tip off probably in the first week. He sent me a text and said, yeah, I broke the tip on the blade. I was doing a little bit of light prying and it snapped right off. Now, you know, it had a fairly delicate tip, so it's kind of to be expected that if you're doing any kind of prying with it, which is not how it's intended, it's going to break off. But that being said, I do appreciate when Leatherman puts the higher quality steel in some of their other multi-tools. They have the S30V, the CPM 154s. Charge me a couple extra bucks, give me a premium steel in a tool that I'm going to use, and I'm going to be that much better for it. You can see the tip there has some chunks taken out of it as well. Although the actual cutting edge maintained pretty well. It held that edge decently. It's not super sharp, but it still has a little bit of an edge on it. Let's move over and talk about the last two tools, the two drivers. We've got the two short shank regular drivers. The fat one, of course, just normal wear and tear on it. The skinny one, you can see he's completely tweaked the tip over. Now, any of you guys that use multi-tools, I know for a fact myself, especially on some of the older Gerber ones I have, this happens quite frequently. It doesn't take a lot of tension, a lot of torque to twist these small drivers up. But, you know, there are lots of screws in the world that have a tiny head that require a bit of torque to actually be able to manipulate, you know, to twist open or close, you know, mostly open. So I would wish that they would beef up the quality, you know, not the dimensions so much, but the quality of the steel on these small drivers, or on all the drivers really, so that this doesn't happen. Just a minor criticism, of course, this is a, you know, a multi-tool in the $80–90 range, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just one of those things I'd like to see. Now, one of his only criticisms of it, he was not really very critical of the busted blade. He was obviously prying with it. The twisted small shank, he was a little perturbed about, of course, as you might be as well. What he wanted to see was longer shank drivers like this Phillips is. And the more I started thinking about it, yeah, that would be awesome if these regular heads, or at least one of these regular heads, was a long shank just like this Phillips is here. It really helps a lot when you're trying to get deep in, trying to reach in and actually manipulate the tool if these are a longer shank. Now, of course, if you're looking at the tool, if you own a tool, you say, well, you know, Zach, that's not possible because you've got the saw, you've got the serrated blade that take up all the rest of the space on this handle. Well, I thought about that too. If they were to just take and switch the seatbelt cutter and the can opener onto the same side as the Phillips, not as the Phillips, but as the regular heads, they'd be able to increase the shank length on those and give you a longer shank. Or give us a removable bit driver like is on the Mutt and is on some of the other tools, and that allows us to, you know, put in a Torx bit, maybe different size Phillips, maybe an awl, whole bunch of different bits that fit into the removable bit driver. Personally, that's my favorite. The extra bit packs you get from Leatherman seem to be of a harder steel quality than these ones that are included in most of these tools, the built-in ones. I personally like the bit driver myself. I know some guys are going to scoff at that and say, well, you can lose the bits, or then you got to carry the bits and it makes it harder. All you have to do would be to put on some kind of a pocket on here to hold a bit or two, and you could actually remove one or two of these fixed ones, these fixed in flathead or Phillips, and just give us a bit driver with some pockets to carry some bits. Anyway, minor criticism, of course. Just something I'd like to see that would make this tool a little bit more perfect. That takes us on to, let me find it here, the serrated blade. Flip around. Okay, the serrated blade he really didn't have much use for. I'm sure if he were to have completely worn out the regular fixed blade, he would have taken to using the serrated blade. Of course, this tool does have sort of a military inspiration to it. So those guys might be using it to cut some nylon, maybe in a rescue situation, maybe to cut some cordage. He didn't have much use for it at all, but I rest assured I'm sure it will cut just fine. Alright guys, so just wanted to give you an overall overview again of this after several months of use, hard use really, and see how it's holding up. These sides, which were kind of a concern, they were kind of had a cheap feel when I first laid hands on this tool, have held up really well. He's dropped it, had it in and out of his pocket, you know, used it all sorts of different ways, and the sides are actually not an issue at all. So, and kind of cool to see that. He said he really didn't have much use for the locking, the lock and unlock here, to lock the jaws closed and so on, because he carries it in the pouch. But I wanted to go ahead and give it a little bit of a reprieve. This thing is held up a lot better than I thought it would. Great little tool, I think, still for the money. worth it to me simply because it has the replaceable jaws and the spring-loaded pliers. That makes all other issues sort of go away in my mind until Leatherman and Gerber start releasing more spring-loaded versions. This is a great option for you. Lastly, back on to criticisms, the case sucks. Alright, the case sucks. My initial impressions were that the case sucks. My buddy's impressions are that the case sucks. Of course, it is kind of set up for molly carry and not for belt carry. So again, back to that military inspiration. You know, you can fix it. You can loop it through that it'll go around a belt. If you wear a really wide belt, maybe a 2-inch nylon belt, you can carry it on a belt, no problem. But it's just, you know, it's just a cheap case. You know, if you're going to give us a really cheap junk case, give us a pocket clip, or I don't know, don't give us a case and save us a couple bucks and we can supply our own case. Anyway, alright guys, thanks for watching. I guess we'll let the flame wars and comments below continue, or begin rather. If you guys have any similar experiences or anything to say about the OHT from your own uses, please post below. Thanks for watching. As always, talk to you later.